The star called Riventor was old and fading. It gave off a weak red light and had not hosted life for millions of years. Around this lonely star floated a large, strange object cold, lifeless, and quiet. No one knew where it came from or what it was. It looked like a broken piece of metal, shaped like a ship, but no engines, lights, or markings were visible from outside. Just silence. The Gurnik Empire had sent a research vessel called Shalak V to investigate. The crew was a group of proud and curious alien scientists. Most of them believed it was nothing more than an ancient machine left by a long-dead species. One of the scientists, a thin blue-scaled being named Veltor, was different. He had studied human history for years. He had read every lost record, every old story, even though most people called them myths. He believed this object might be human in origin, but his team laughed. "This is just scrap," one of them said. "Humans are legends, not real," another added. "If they ever existed, they're gone forever," said the captain, waving his hand. Veltor didn't argue. He simply asked to scan the object again. The results came back strange. There was a power signature, very weak, almost dead. But it was there. "I think it's asleep," Veltor said softly. The others laughed louder. That night, while the others rested, Veltor sent a small drone toward the relic. The drone entered through a narrow gap in the metal surface. Inside, it found long empty hallways, tall silver doors, and strange lights flickering on the walls. Everything looked untouched, as if the place had been waiting for someone to return. Drone went deeper. It reached a massive room filled with pods. Inside the pods were empty chair seats shaped for humans. One pod still had something inside. The drone zoomed in. A metallic figure sat perfectly still. Its eyes were closed. A human-shaped robot? A pilot? Or something else? Veltor watched carefully. Then, without warning, the drone lost signal. The screen went black. He sat up in shock. Suddenly, the relic pulsed with light just once. A single, bright glow ran across its outer surface and vanished. Then silence again. Veltor ran to wake the others. "It moved," he said. "It's alive." No one believed him. They checked the relic again. Nothing on the surface. The same silence. The same cold metal. "You've been reading too many human stories," said the captain. "Maybe it's time you get some rest." Veltor didn't sleep. He stared out the window, watching the relic. It floated quietly, unmoving, but something had changed. He could feel it. The next day, nearby systems began to report strange signals. A deep humming sound, followed by a soft repeating tone. The message was short, old, and simple, but Veltor recognized it. He had seen the pattern before. "It's a human code," he whispered. News spread quickly across the Gurnak Empire. Other alien empires began to listen. Some were curious. Some were afraid. But most didn't take it seriously. "Just some old machine waking up," said one alien emperor. "Let the Gurnak play with their toy." Another laughed. But then came the real shock. A deep space telescope caught something unusual, an image of stars forming a shape. A human symbol. It appeared in multiple systems all at once. The symbol of Earth's old alliance. The one that disappeared thousands of years ago. Veltor stood in front of the council, his voice shaking. "This is a warning. That relic, it's not just a ship. It's a sentinel, a guardian. And it's waking up." The council laughed again. "You're dreaming of ghosts," they said. "Even if humans were real, they're not coming back." But far away, in deep and empty space, something was listening. And the relic, now glowing from within, began to shift. Something inside had awoken, and it was only the beginning. Veltor couldn't sleep. Even though the relic had gone silent again, he knew something had changed. The signal, the human code, was still repeating across nearby star systems. Some called it space noise. Others believed it was just an echo from some ancient satellite. But Veltor knew better. He stood alone at the ship's observation deck, staring at the strange metal relic floating near the dying star. It had not moved. No engines, no lights, just quiet silence. But the feeling in his chest wouldn't leave. It was like something old, something powerful, had opened its eyes for the first time in 1,000 years. Early the next morning, Veltor received a private message from a deep space outpost in Sector 9T. The station commander was an old friend, Colin. His message was short and nervous. We picked up a star map. It flashed for 3 seconds, then vanished. It matched ancient human charts. You were right, Tor. Something's moving out there. The message ended without coordinates. V. Tor rushed to the council chamber again. This isn't a myth, he shouted. Human satellites are activating. They are waking up one by one. But again, the council leader growled. Humans are dead. Let them stay dead. Still, one of the younger scientists, Liara, was starting to believe. She approached Veltor quietly after the meeting. I saw the same map signal in Sector 7R, she whispered. The stars glowed. Like beacons. We couldn't explain it. Together, they returned to the relic, this time flying closer with a deep scan probe. As the probe hovered near the relic's surface, strange patterns lit up. Symbols simple, but sharp, began to glow. Along its metallic skin, Veltor recognized them immediately. Coordinates, he muttered. These are jump points. Liara looked confused. Jump points to what? Veltor's voice dropped. To human colonies? The lost ones. Suddenly, the probe was pulled forward, almost magnetically. It hit the relic's surface and passed, through it vanishing, like it fell into water. Veltor stepped back in shock. That was impossible, Liara whispered. Inside the relic, the probe's camera flickered back to life for just a few seconds. What it showed made Veltor's hands shake. A massive interior city, floating platforms, tall spires with glowing energy lines, screens with data still running in old human language. But what froze him most was the giant human statue in the center of the chamber, eyes glowing blue, hand outstretched like a guardian. Then the camera cut out again. Silent. This thing, Veltor whispered, wasn't just a ship. It was a vault. Liara looked at him. A vault for what? Memories. Technology. Maybe even something living. Far away, in another part of the galaxy, a listening station on a quiet moon went dark. The last thing their sensors picked up was a flash of light above them, followed by the appearance of a large, circular object. Another relic. That same night, many stars across the galaxy began to flicker, not because they were dying, but because something was passing in front of them. Huge shadows, silent, watching. Governments started to panic. Unknown signals began appearing on every major communication system. Some were sounds, some were maps. Some were short phrases in the old Earth language. One message appeared on every screen in the Gurnak Council chamber for 5 full seconds before vanishing. The Guardians are returning. Prepare for remembrance. Panic broke out. This is a threat. The military leader shouted. They're coming to take revenge. We must destroy the relic before it fully activates. But Veltor stood tall. No, he said. This is not war. This is warning. The humans are not attacking us. They are reminding us. They were never gone. One of the generals growled. We cannot let old ghosts rise. Prepare the fleet. The decision was made. The Gurnak would destroy the relic. Tor was placed under watch. He was labeled Human Sympathizer. Liara, too, was warned to stay silent, but neither of them could forget what they saw. As the fleet prepared to fire, deep inside the Relic, something stirred. Massive engines, long asleep, began to hum. Not loud, not fast, just softly, like a giant breathing in its sleep. And across space, one by one, more relics began to glow. The humans were not returning. They had already arrived. Asterisk, asterisk. The Gurnik fleet floated like a wall of steel and fire around the Relic. Hundreds of ships stood ready. Cannons charged. Engines burned quietly. From a distance, it looked like they were surrounding a sleeping beast, afraid, but desperate too. Kill it before it opened its eyes. Inside the command ship Corvée, High General Terex growled as he stared at the display. "Enough of this nonsense," he snapped. "It's just old metal. One blast and we end the story." Veltor was locked in a small room deep in the lower decks, watching the Relic through a security feed. His hands were shaking. He had tried to warn them, over and over. But now it was too late. Liara had been removed from the science team and placed on silent duty. But she was smarter than they thought. She had hidden a tiny recorder inside the scan probe before it vanished into the Relic. The device had started transmitting again, just barely. She now listened in secret to a repeating message from deep within the Relic's core. The voice was calm, ancient, mechanical, but human. Systems restoring. Star core charging. Guardian protocol engaged. The Relic was not just waking up. It was preparing for something. The countdown began. The Gurnik gave the Relic one last warning. It didn't respond. "Fire!" Terex ordered. The first wave of missiles launched. Dozens of explosions lit up space. And then nothing. The Relic didn't move. No damage. No reaction. The Gurnik fired again. Beam weapons. Plasma rounds. A direct hit. Still nothing. Then the lights changed. Slowly, blue energy lines began to glow across the Relic's surface. One by one, they spread like veins connecting panels, symbols, and weapons, long hidden under dust and time. Suddenly, with a deep, low hum, the Relic rotated. It moved. Then came the voice. A single word, loud enough to echo across all channels, in perfect galactic standard. "Leave." The Gurnik ships hesitated. And then it began. The Relic unfolded. Panels opened into wings. Engines roared to life. Weapons no one had seen before emerged, smooth, glowing, and silent. One ship tried to retreat. In a blink, it vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. A flash of light. A wave of silence. The rest of the fleet opened fire in panic. The Relic responded. But it didn't use missiles. It didn't use fire. It used light. Bright beams of blue and white sliced through the enemy ships without a sound. Entire cruisers blinked out like candles. Not a single explosion, just disappearance. As if space itself erased them. Veltor watched in horror and awe. "This is not war," he whispered. "This is precision." The Relic didn't attack randomly. It only removed ships that had fired. The others were untouched. In under 5 minutes, 70% of the Gurnik fleet was gone. General Terex screamed, "Fall back! Fall back!" But it was too late. The Relic turned again, and this time a soft voice echoed across the galaxy. "First protocol complete. Galactic balance compromised. Human domain reactivating." At that same moment, across distant galaxies, old stations lit up, stations built by humans thousands of years ago. Long-dead satellites began to pulse with energy. Ancient beacons woke, sending messages to stars that hadn't heard human language. In centuries. And then something impossible happened. A new star appeared, but it wasn't a real star. It was an opening, a gateway burning bright with gold light. Far beyond the Relic's position, from the gateway, came shapes. Sleek, giant, beautiful, human. Ships. But these weren't the ships from old stories. These were more advanced, silent, elegant, built with knowledge far beyond what the galaxy now understood. Veltors. Eyes widened as one ship flew past the viewing window of his prison cell. It moved without sound, without heat, without fear. The Relic spoke once more. The Guardians have returned. Do not interfere. Then, without warning, the Relic shut down its weapons and returned to silence. It had done its job. It had awakened the past, and the stars would never be the same again. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Across hundreds of star systems, ancient human beacons continued to activate, each one lighting up after centuries of silence. Forgotten satellites rotated. Abandoned outposts came alive. Strange signals danced across every major communication channel, repeating a single message. Human domain, reconnection in progress. The Gurnic Empire was in chaos. After the destruction of their fleet, survivors drifted in life pods, shaken and silent. High General Terex had disappeared, his command ship wiped clean from existence. The remaining admirals ordered a full retreat. Veltor, once locked away, was suddenly very important. He was pulled from his cell and brought before the Emergency War Council. A nervous leader asked him, "What is happening? What do these ships want?" Veltor's answer was quiet. "They want balance. They want us to remember what we forgot." The council didn't like that. Meanwhile, Liara sat in her quarters, watching dozens of data streams. The human ships weren't attacking. They were spreading across key systems, activating ancient stations, uploading knowledge, scanning nearby fleets, and simply watching. But something else was happening. In deep space, several minor empires, greedy and afraid, sent war fleets to capture or destroy the human relics. They believed the relics were unarmed now, sleeping again. They were wrong. In the Zarnith system, a group of 30 warships surrounded a human satellite that was slowly broadcasting coordinates into the void. The Zarnith commander gave the order to disable it. The moment the first shot was fired, space around the ships shimmered. Out of nothing, 2 human vessels appeared, sleek, silent, glowing blue. The alien commander shouted, "Defensive positions!" But nothing happened, because their weapons had shut down, systems fried, engines died. Screens went black. A voice spoke from the human ship, gentle but firm. Aggression detected. Surrender or vanish. They didn't surrender. They vanished. Not destroyed, not killed. Just gone. Across the galaxy, stories began to spread. Ships disappearing, stations silenced, entire planets receiving gifts of food, medicine, and knowledge from human drones, and being left alone. Some called it magic, others called it judgment. But Veltor knew better. "It's not magic," he said to the council. "It's a warning. The relic didn't just wake up, it sent for its creators. And now they're watching everything." In secret, he contacted Liara. They met inside an old archive chamber, far from the eyes of the Empire. "I've seen them up close," she whispered. "One of their ships passed through our outer station. It didn't stop. It didn't speak. But everything broken in that station healed, power returned, walls repaired, data restored. And then it left." Veltor nodded. "They're not here for war, but if war finds them, they won't lose." At that moment, news arrived from the edge of the galaxy. The Trelag swarm, a brutal species known for consuming entire planets, had moved toward a relic on the border of old human space. Ignored the warnings. They attacked, and what came next broke every known law of nature. A wave of light, not fire, not plasma, swept across space. The swarm vanished in silence. Their ships, their fleets, their memory. It was as if they never existed. Galactic leaders panicked. This is extinction. Power, one screamed. They are too dangerous to be allowed to return. A new alliance began to form. Old enemies became allies. Fear united them. They called it the Last Stand Pact. Their goal: destroy all remaining human relics before more ships could come. Veltor tried to speak against it. You're making the same mistake, he warned. You think the humans are weak because they are kind, but they are not weak. They are watching who learns and who repeats the old errors. No one listened. Soon, fleets from 12 empires gathered near the largest human relic, known now as the Sentinel. They aimed everything they had, and just before they fired, the stars themselves began to move. Not literally, but the light bent, twisted, and reshaped. One enormous human ship stepped out of the distortion. It was unlike anything seen before, dwarfing even the largest empire ships. It looked alive. Then a voice, clear, human, commanding, spoke. This galaxy was once ours. We left in peace. We returned in silence. But if provoked, we will remind you why we were feared. The fleets hesitated, but only for a moment. One admiral shouted, "Fire!" And the wrath of the past began. Asterisk. The galaxy trembled. 12 powerful fleets had fired everything they had at the massive human ship. Missiles, lasers, plasma cannons, wave after wave of deadly fire, cut through space toward the quiet, glowing vessel. But none of it reached. The space around the human ship bent, twisted, and shimmered. The weapons never touched metal. They simply vanished, as if space itself refused to let them land. And then came silence. The human ship did not move. It did not fire. Instead, it spoke. You seek to destroy what you do not understand. As before, the voice echoed across every fleet's bridge. Calm, cold, tired. This is not the first time fear has blinded you. And then the stars changed again. Across the sky, massive star lines formed lines of energy connecting systems, once part of the ancient human alliance. These lines began to pulse. Then, from their centers, more ships arrived, dozens, hundreds, each. One different, but all clearly human. But these weren't warships, not yet. Some looked like city hubs. Others looked like science platforms. A few appeared as pure light-glowing forms with no clear shape. On the Gurnak homeworld, Veltor and Liara sat in an underground lab surrounded by hidden machines they had uncovered. Something ancient. A human data core. It had been buried beneath the ruins of an old mining base long forgotten, deep beneath layers of metal and ash. It was still working. When they activated it, a hologram appeared. A human. Pale skin. Gray eyes. No expression. It looked directly at them. Protocol 0 initiated. Liara stepped back. It sees us. The hologram nodded slowly. You are not human, but you carry memory. That is enough. Veltor's voice trembled. Why did your people leave? The hologram's eyes glowed. We left because the galaxy was not ready. We offered peace, knowledge, balance. In return, we were hunted, feared, betrayed. So we disappeared, but not without plan. We left Guardian's sleeping eyes in the dark, watching, waiting, until the time came to return. Liara leaned forward. Have you come back to take over? The hologram blinked slowly. We have returned to test. If war rises again, we will end it. Suddenly, the lab shook. Alerts rang. Something massive had entered orbit above. Them, Veltor and Liara rushed outside. Above them hovered one of the lightships. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It simply opened a beam of soft light down to the surface. Then, the ground beneath the city began to shift. An enormous circular platform rose from the dirt. It was metallic, human in design, but old so old, symbols began to glow. A map appeared in the sky. Liara gasped. It's the old star routes, all the missing human colonies. The ship's voice returned, surrounding them. We are not conquerors. We are reminders. Back in space, the other empires prepared to strike again. They believed the humans were bluffing. Their ships looked peaceful, but the fear remained. So the last stand pact sent one final threat. They launched a gravity core, a forbidden weapon that could collapse entire planets. It was aimed not at the human ships, but at a nearby unarmed planet recently protected by one of the relics. Before it could reach the planet, the attack froze. The weapon stopped mid-space, and then it turned slowly toward the fleet that launched it. A voice, now colder, now sharper, filled the void. You have failed the test. In an instant, space twisted. A single human ship moved, and the entire attacking fleet ceased to exist. No fire, no wreckage, no explosion. Just emptiness. And then finally, the stars quieted again. Veltor watched everything from the lab's cum feed. His heart beat fast, not in fear but in awe. Liara turned to him, whispering, They're not just powerful. They're tired. Like they've done this before. Veltor nodded slowly. Because they have. He looked up at the stars. And for the first time in his life, he understood. The humans had never left. They had simply waited for the galaxy to grow up. And now, the test had begun. The galaxy held its breath, across thousands of worlds, from icy moons to fire-lit cities. People looked to the stars. The fleets of the Last Stand Pact were gone, erased in a blink by a single human vessel. There was no war, no chase, no warning, only a message spoken without anger or pride. This is not revenge. This is memory. Every empire that survived the encounter now stood silent. Some called emergency meetings. Others hid their warships deep underground. A few begged for peace. But no reply came. The humans had stopped speaking. They were now watching. On the surface of the Gurnik homeworld, Veltor sat alone beneath a clear dome. He watched the sky, which now shimmered with strange lights. The human star lines had spread far and wide, forming networks between systems once lost, reconnecting places long forgotten. Beside him, Liara scrolled through pages of recovered human archives. The data core they had found now pulsed gently, like a heart. Vel, she whispered, this is bigger than we thought. He nodded. It was never just about the relic. The core spoke again, but softer this time. The hologram returned, same human face, same gray eyes. You are curious. That is why you are still here. Veltor stood. Then tell us. What happens now? The hologram turned toward the stars. Now the test ends. The galaxy must decide, learn or vanish. Back in orbit, the Sentinel, the great relic that started everything, was moving again, but not alone. All across the galaxy, the other relics had begun to rise, each one unfolded like a flower. Inside were cities, ships, machines, gifts. Not weapons, knowledge, blueprints for healing planets, ending hunger, reversing war damage, fixing broken stars. The humans had returned not as destroyers, but as architects, yet the message was clear. Misuse these gifts, and consequences would follow. One by one, human ships began placing beacons on planets, even those that had never known humans before. These beacons were tall, silent, and glowed with soft white light. Every time one was placed, the same phrase echoed in the minds of those nearby. Remember who you were before fear ruled you. Back at the Gurnak council chambers, the leaders argued again. They didn't destroy us, we still have power. We must build stronger weapons. No, we must surrender. Veltor entered the chamber without permission. You still don't understand, he said firmly. The humans are not here to fight. They are here to see who is ready to grow, and who will be left behind. The council leader stood. Are you saying we bow to them? Veltor shook his head. I'm saying we listen. For once in our history, we listen. Meanwhile, across the stars, something incredible happened. Old planets that had been thought dead, once human colonies destroyed in ancient wars, began to glow. Not with ships, not with fire, but with life. Forests grew from dry deserts. Cities rose from broken ruins. Water returned to empty oceans. The human star lines had begun to restore what was lost. It was not magic. It was legacy. Veltor and Liara received an invitation delivered by a small floating orb, glowing blue. The message was short. You believed. Come and see. They followed the signal to a location never marked on any map. What they found left them speechless. A planet green, bright, alive, orbiting a quiet star. Human ships hovered above it like guardians. And on the surface stood a tower of white crystal, humming with energy. They were welcomed by a human, real, flesh and blood. She had silver eyes and spoke gently. You have questions, she said. Veltor stepped forward. Why now? Why come back after all this time? The human woman looked up at the stars. We were waiting for the galaxy to remember who we are. Not warriors, not conquerors, just people. People who once tried to build something better. She turned to Veltor, and now we offer that chance again. Liara whispered, and if we refuse? The woman's face grew sad. Then the stars will remember that you chose fear. Veltor looked around. He saw peace, growth, the future. Turn to the human. We choose memory. Back in the heart of space, the last relic, the Sentinel, slowly dimmed. Its mission was complete. All across the galaxy, the human ships didn't conquer. They stayed. As watchers, not as reminders, not as hope. And the stars that once watched wars and destruction now remembered something else. They remembered humanity. Asterisk.